He was at a friend's house walking home. There was a call for shots fired, and when beat officers arrived on scene, they located Mr. Jones in the middle of the street.
You're just minding your own business, and suddenly your life ends shortly thereafter for no reason whatsoever.
This quiet Kentucky neighborhood turns violent in an instant, and it launches an investigation that would expose something far worse.
It's two people deceased in the alley. Oh my God, somebody set them on fire. It looks like two kids, really.
I have talked to people that have committed some heinous crimes. Truly, honestly, one of the most evil people I've ever seen. A lot of mayhem ensued in that case. Not often is it a situation where there's a body in the middle of a street and there's nothing else around it. There's no crowd, there's no people, there's no witnesses, there's nothing really to draw a conclusion of what actually occurred.
It's around midnight when gunshots ring out in this West Side neighborhood, and 40-year-old Christopher Jones is gunned down while he was just walking home from a friend's house.
One of the problems with Christopher Jones's case in particular, Christopher Jones did not actually die on that street. He died on the surgical table. The actual shooting incident could have taken place a yard, 2 yards, 3 yards away from where his resting place was when the ambulance crew got out there. So when you go back to do crime scene reconstruction, your orientation is completely blown at that point in time.
There wasn't really a good opportunity to follow a whole lot of leads. We did a background on him, and he's just a guy. You know, he doesn't really have an extensive criminal background. Your immediate thoughts go to, what did this guy do? Who does he know? Who wants to hurt him? It just came up dry.
Detectives fan out, processing the scene, checking nearby homes for surveillance footage, but there is one camera that captures something that no one else saw, and it sets this whole case in motion.
We also obviously looked for any kind of ring cameras or any kind of video that would help kind of put together the puzzle pieces. We did happen to have one camera that showed us one angle of a car speeding away, but nothing major.
Beyond that, they don't have a license plate. They can't see who's in the car. At that point, the only thing you could really do is good old-fashioned police work, which is boots on the ground, talking to people, trying to figure out what relationships are going on.
When you have someone that is walking down the street in a neighborhood area and they are the single person that is killed, you have to begin to think as an investigator that that individual was in fact targeted.
We started digging into Mr. Jones's life. Does he have enemies? Is he in the drug game? Is he connected to people that we know are in the crime element? And that came up empty.
Christopher Jones, the reporting of when he was murdered, it didn't gather a huge amount of news. Louisville is a town with more than 100, sometimes close to 200 murders a year. It probably was 15 seconds of the news. It was a tragedy, and a 40-year-old man with a family had been shot. There was no alarm bells that it was something bigger.
Days turn into weeks without an ounce of progress in this case. And police believe they're dealing with an isolated homicide, but later on they discover they are very wrong, and things get a lot more complicated.
I'm a white operator. Where's your emergency? Hello, it's two people deceased in the alley. Oh my God, we're at in between 40th Street and 39th.
These people are not breathing at all, is that correct?
They're deceased.
Okay.
It looks like they ain't no older than 17, 18.
It was within just a couple of weeks of the murder of Christopher Jones where an additional crime scene was found, and this one was quite brutal.
Now, what is your name?
Yeah, I have. Hello?
Yes.
I'm in an alley between 40th and River Park. It's two dead bodies waving. They look like they are burnt up. The insides are on the outside. It looked like somebody set them on fire. It looked like two kids, really.
Okay, we're going to get the first available unit started that way, ma'am. Just stay away from them, okay?
I was on call that day, and I remember it vividly. I got the phone call, and I arrived on scene. I walked the path to the rear of the house, the alley. I did a complete once-over the whole entire house, the abandoned house around the outside, to see, did they drive up to the back and dump them that way? Did they carry them through beside the home and drop them off in the back? We see horrible things all the time. What man can do to man, it really takes you back sometimes. When I saw these two boys laying on the grass, partially covered by a sheet and burnt, and you sit there and you think, who could do this? Who could do this to anybody?
People that apply fire to the deceased often believe that they are eradicating evidence. But the one thing that fire will not destroy, it's not going to disguise any kind of wound tracks. It's important to try to understand the level of violence that we're talking about here. You learn a lot about the perpetrator, how little value they put on human life. They're treated as if they're rubbish.
When you start looking at the bodies and you start to see the destruction that the fire caused and you start to see the stab wounds, ultimately one boy I think was stabbed 18 times and the other boy was stabbed in the 20s. They didn't have wallets, they didn't have identification, and it's very difficult to identify juveniles. We ended up taking the kids to the ME's office, and once we got them there, we attempted again to get fingerprints and we couldn't. And this really puts us in a dilemma.
Nobody knew at the time that it was these two boys because they had not been reported missing. In fact, police early on put out sketches of the boys to see if anybody knew who it was.
The faster we can get these renderings out, the faster we can get information back. Within a few hours, we got the renderings. And my first thought is, let's try and get this out to the public as fast as we possibly can. It wasn't until the following morning that things really got interesting. We got a phone call in the morning from an assistant principal at a school that said, I think these two boys are Larry and Maurice. They're students that go to school here. And so we got those two names. We got the address of where their mother lived. And I said, okay, let's go to the mother's house. The two boys that they're saying could be at the house. We don't know. As we pull up, you can see her in the front yard, sitting down. And her first words are, what'd they do this time? Where are they at? As a human being, the last thing you want to show any parent is a picture of their deceased child. I just said, I got to do it. I chose to show the mom a picture, and emotions just ran through the roof. She jumped up, started screaming, that's him, that's him, that's him, where's my baby, where's my baby? And I had to tell her.
A mother claims the two teens found dead behind a house were her sons. The bodies of the boys found burned Sunday afternoon on River Park Drive.
The bodies are officially identified as brothers 16-year-old Maurice Gordon and 14-year-old Larry Ordway.
This was not a typical murder in Louisville or anywhere. This was two teenagers, two children basically. Larry and Maurice were both still in middle school at the time, despite their age. They were very close. I know that they didn't have a great family life, didn't have a great home life, so they were often on their own.
Police know they have got to figure out who did this to these two teenage boys. And so their first questions are, who are their friends? Who are they hanging out with? Who are their associates? So they're talking to family, they're talking to friends, they're trying to figure out who is within their circle.
Mama's going to know who they're involved with. She's going to try to fill in the blanks for them to try to understand what is this narrative that led them to this location. And not only her, but anybody else that she has personal knowledge of that they had associated themselves with.
And that leads us to the first time we heard the name, Rambo. And when we heard that name, it just rang out. And we're like, who is this? She says, I know it was him. They got in the car with him. Rambo, whose name is Bryce Rhodes. Bryce Rhodes and the uncle spent time in jail together. And the mother knew Bryce Rhodes in a relationship style communication where they were kind of sort of seeing each other, which adds a whole different dynamic to this situation. Is she jaded? Is she just throwing his name out? Is it a bad situation that's turned worse? Because this is the first turn of events that's actually given us direction. I stand back and interview the mom and the uncle. They talk about their two best friends, Corey Taylor and Anwan Carter.
One of the big breaks police got was when Maurice and Larry's mother called one of their phones and a teen answered. She said, "Where are my kids?"
Anwan Carter answered, and Jacory was with him. Detective Vance and two other detectives decided to go to where Anwan Carter lived. The adult that owns the house lets the detectives in. Detective Vance looks over and he sees Anwan Carter attempting to shove the phone under the bed and hide it.
And there is one other thing that stands out about what Anwan's wearing, a big clue that they're heading in the right direction.
These are the things we're missing from the scene where we initially saw the two boys. No shoes, no phone, no wallet. The mom happened to have a picture of the shoes that they were wearing. Lo and behold, guess whose shoes he's wearing? Maurice's. That's all we need.
Which school do you go to? I'm saying, what grade were you in, sophomore? Not be a freshman. You were friends with Maurice, right? You were friends with Larry, right? Okay. I'm sorry, I'm distracted. I like your kicks, man. I'm not gonna lie. That reminds me of the old Jordans, dude. I gotta ask, how much these shoes? Almost 300. No way! Are you serious? $280.
You have several different paths to go down, but the first thing you want to do is you want to get a feeling of that individual. What do they react to? Are they reacting to emotional? Are they reacting to religion? Are they reacting to dad voice? Or are they kind of set back and kind of sort of stoic, so to speak, not going to say nothing to anybody, nothing's going to happen? And you've got to spend more time breaking down those walls to try to sort of create a communication path.
How long were you Larry and Maurice? 4 years. If you want to talk to us about what's going on, just remember, man, it doesn't get any easier from here. And it all breaks down to this. I mean, do you know what happened to him? The last time I talked to him, he said he was in Victory Park. What was that? This was like 2 or 3 days ago. This is my question. Is it your mom? So did she talk to you Saturday on your phone? Well, when did you get Reese's phone? Reese's phone, I just bought that. Did you buy it? It was morning.
Interviewing juveniles is always tricky for police. Teenagers have a tendency to lie, make up stories, say things to be cool or because they want to be friends with somebody or they don't want to upset somebody. But you can't assume they're lying. There are some teenagers who will tell you the truth.
This is just my perspective, okay? And you can jump in anytime. I'm good friends with Reese. I'm good friends with Larry. We've got in trouble before, and all of a sudden Lulu's got his phone, and I'm like, oh, okay, I'll buy his phone, and I don't ask any questions. I didn't know it was hit, though. It was reset. Everything was wiped off. So how did you know it was his? I didn't know. I thought it was Lulu's. We didn't talk to Lulu. He didn't get a phone.
Now, Anwan Carter's saying, oh, I got this phone from a friend of mine, but then says this friend doesn't have a phone? Police obviously know he's lying. They've already confirmed this is Larry and Maurice's phone. But Moo, whoever that is, has nothing to do with this case, according to police.
Why would he keep the phone so he'd have access to the phone? You know what I'm saying? That doesn't make a lot of sense. Because he probably did. Has anybody talked about who did it? Your friends, your groups? So nobody said a single word about it.
Nobody.
Was Maurice and Larry into some stuff?
No. They probably was getting robbed. Because, they be posting pictures of them with guns and stuff.
I've been doing this for 10 years. And that was no robbery. No. Not even close.
Complicating the investigation for police are pictures on social media of Larry and Maurice. These pictures show the two teenage boys holding up guns and flashing money, but the family saying, they're just dumb teenage boys putting these posts up. They were trying to look tough and cool on social media.
There shouldn't be any phone calls to family members of yours before yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
What about phone calls to Maurice's mom?
Somebody was calling the phone. I couldn't answer those numbers.
Well, Maurice's mom said she talked to you. She talked to you Sunday.
She talked to me.
She recognized your voice, and they told her that basically that they were fine. You were going to have them call her later.
So your mom said that you FaceTimed her Saturday night. What number did you FaceTime her from?
I was with my cousin Q.
And you say the last time you talked to Maurice or Larry was Friday night?
2 or 3 days ago.
2 or 3 days ago. Well, that would put it right about Saturday. Because your mom thought you were with them.
I showed them the whole car to FaceTime.
So they were in the car with you?
They were in the car. That was with. I don't know where they was at. She FaceTime.
Were they with Rainbow? Did you know for a fact that Larry and Maurice were with Rainbow?
I didn't talk to him that night.
Did you tell us where you were at Saturday?
Saturday I was in Park Hill.
All day? Well, just tell me your day, man. Just simple.
So all I did was got high all day.
Later that night?
I spent the night at my cousin's house.
We learned Larry and Maurice's dads aren't really in the picture, and that Bryce Rhodes is kind of sort of filling a little bit of that other aspect of their lives that's missing. And these boys are becoming enamored by him.
Bryce Rhodes, he is essentially a father figure to Larry and Maurice. He had dated their mother, so there was a connection there. He also knew their uncle from a previous jail stint. They look up to Bryce Rhodes. He's kind of like the local cool guy, in the neighborhood. And not just that, Bryce Rhodes had taken them to, get food, bought them clothes, bought them shoes.
Rhodes was sort of a small-time rapper in the community. This is the crowd. It's Bryce Rhodes, Anwan Quadra. It's these other teenagers who looked at Bryce as a mentor and really was kind of the leader of this group.
Now, Anwan Carter somewhat changes his tune, now saying he doesn't even know Rambo.
You got a lot of fears. And one of your fears is probably Rambo, right? You don't feel Rambo?
I don't even know who Rambo is.
You told me in the car it was a guy who was about 28, 20 was an older guy.
I mean, I've seen him before, but I never hung around him.
So you've never been in the car with Rambo? Any of his cars?
No. I don't know who Rambo is.
Let's say that something really bad happens, okay, and you aren't a part of it, but you happen to be there and you witness it. And then a certain person involved in that thinks you might tell on them. And something really bad happens to you. Should we go after the people who hurt you? That's what we're doing. Be honest with me. Help us. For your friends.
I'm telling you everything.
I know for a fact that you are not telling us all the whole truth, okay? I know you know about Rambo.
We started off talking to Anwan, and it was exactly what we thought it was going to be. I don't know about this, I don't know about that. And I started throwing some things out there. And you could see that he was definitely having conflict about whether to talk to us and tell us or to just stay quiet.
Your sister said on the phone when you answered the phone in the car, you denied being with Rambo, but she said, no, you weren't with him.
So tell us about the last information you know about them. I know you know about Rambo.
I don't know about Rambo.
As far as when it comes to Larry and Reese, I think it's important that you see a few things. It's hard for me to look at this. I want to show you what we found Sunday. I want you to look at this. Those boys were tortured. Their mama has to see this. Think about the last minutes of their life, what they went through. Because I would imagine that's hell on earth.
They show Anwan Carter pictures of his two friends and the state that they were found in. And for a 16-year-old to see their friends in this state, I'm sure was disturbing and heart-wrenching, but police needed to do it because they had to get him to realize these are your friends.
Do me a favor. We see you. Take our shoes off. I will tell you this right now. I know for a fact you're not being honest, okay? Because of certain things that we've just found out. I'm going to tell you right now, dude. You were digging yourself the deepest hole.
There is a huge difference between being a suspect and being a witness. Between being somebody that's cooperating and somebody that's not.
When it's nothing, I'm talking about nothing. I just need a lawyer.
At one point, I said, man, we've been talking for a little bit. Let's take a break. And this is where you have the opportunity to look at your suspect and see how they're going to react to the time alone when nobody else is in the room. And you could tell that the mental conflict that was going on in Anwan's brain was real.
I got a search warrant here. We're going to be collecting some pictures. We're going to be taking some swabs and doing some different things, okay? No.
So Anwan's sitting in the room when something unconventional happens.
His mom and sister show up at the office against all normal operations. Most of the time, when you have a subject inside the interview room, the last thing you want to do is bring in family. It's a gamble. That family could be like, you don't talk. You're not a snitch. You don't say anything. I inferred how important this was and how much trouble Anwan is actually in. She went in and talked to Anwan. When the sister came out, she looked me dead in the face and said, he wants to talk to you.
You've already told your sister. She came out and told us that you want to talk to us. Now, is that the truth? Okay. I need to hear you say that.
Yes. I wanted to talk to you guys.
A new detective enters the room, and they're hoping that this different strategy will draw up more information from Anwan Carter about the murder of his friends.
Sometimes, as a detective, you have to look at the individual you're talking to and realize that you might not be the right person for the interview. And I looked at Sergeant John Lesher, and then I said, you know what? Why don't you go in there and talk to him? He had a very almost reverend style of interrogation. So John went in there, and that changed everything.
I need you to tell me the truth, okay? No matter how bad it is. You promise me? Right there, that's golden. I won't lie to you, you don't lie to me. All right? What do you know about this? About this murder?
Well, I know that Saturday night, I'm going to pick Maurice and Larry up in the Charger, a black Charger. And then like days before that, he heard Maurice, because I put him on speakerphone. He was talking about something he had, with Rambo, just like talking about him bad. And then we went over and Maurice, he started stealing his money. And then he chopped me and my cousin off. But Maurice didn't stay in the car because they was hungry. And we got in the car with my cousin's brother. And then we went out, we had Bullitt County. We spent the night there because we didn't want to go back over to Rambo's. The next day, we went over because my cousin, he had some stuff in Rambo's trunk. He got his stuff and we got back in the car. And then I got dropped off at Park Hill. And then I don't know how died, but I wasn't there with him.
He starts giving bits and pieces of the truth, but still, Detective John Lesher knows more than Anwan Carter realizes, so he tries a different tack. He tells Carter that Rambo, aka Bryce Rhodes, is in the other room, and he is giving more of the story.
Man, I'm a man of my word, you're a man of your word. We shook on it, all right? Now please stop. Stop lying to me. Rambo's not the type of guy that's gonna look out for you, because he's not looking out for you right now. He's throwing you under the bus. From everything I understand, you're in this like just as much as him. The next time that you see Rambo's when?
Last time I seen him was on Saturday.
This past weekend. Okay. Where'd you see him at?
He was at his house.
What was he doing that night?
That night he was drinking, smoking weed and stuff, and that with Maurice and them.
With Maurice and Larry? So Maurice and Larry are with him at his house Saturday night. What time was that?
We put up on him about 11:30, 12.
All three of you all, and then all three of them, y'all smoking weed over at his house? What time did you leave?
We left about an hour later.
What did Maurice and Larry and...
They stayed at Rambo's.
Anwan Carter alludes to police that there had been a disagreement between Larry and Maurice and Rhodes.
You're the cold-hearted killer that people are going to look at you and be like, what the hell's wrong with this kid? Or you're somebody that got mixed up in some stuff. There's a blank page. I'm not going to write on it. I'm just going to listen to you, okay? But I'm going to call you on the bullshit that I hear. Let's start over, okay?
We was up at Rambo's house, and like my cut Corey, and Maurice, they got into a fight. And Maurice he picked up a big knife. Rambo took it from him. Rambo smacked him real hard. And like he tied him up, or something. And then he tied his brother up. He made his brother sit in the bathroom. And then he made Maurice get on his knees and like beg for forgiveness. And like he put a toboggan over his head, he put a rag in his mouth, and then he stabbed him and peed.
Rambo did. Okay. At Rambo's house? So you see this happen? Holy You been holding that in this whole time?
I think Anwan almost disassociates and suppresses any kind of emotional aspect to the situation, because I don't really think he had time to process it.
What room is he in when he stabs him?
The living room.
Did he put anything down?
He put a quilt down.
Before he did all this? Where's the quilt at now?
Burned up.
What happens to his brother?
We moved Maurice to the side, and we brought his brother and we put the toboggan over his head. He put the toboggan over his head and put the sock in his mouth. And like, started stabbing him too. He puts him in crates. He left me and Corey at the house to clean it up. He took him all the way down to 41st and dumped him in the alley and burned him. I sat there and watched them burn.
The details that Anwan Carter describes are absolutely chilling. It's difficult to comprehend. But what's even more stunning is what we still don't know, the why behind the killings of his young friends.
Is this because of they stole money, or is it something different? I'm talking about why this all happened.
This is because they was telling the police things.
Okay, what were they telling them?
That Rambo shot somebody by the park.
When was that?
This was this month.
The guy died?
Anwan Carter made the statement that Rambo or Bryce Rhodes was really, really upset because he was afraid that Maurice and Larry were going to snitch on him about killing that guy in the West End. And I was like, the guy in the West End, the guy in the West End. Oh my gosh. And as I'm watching this, it clicked. They killed Jones.
Up to that point, police had zero idea that anybody connected to these boys or Anwan Carter knew anything about Christopher Jones.
He was in that light blue Mazda. And he pulled over, he cut his lights off. And he rode in there slowly. The dude was turned around and he said, "Get the street," and shot him. And he pulled off. Maurice pulled off. We didn't know if he died or not until we watched the news.
Why did he shoot that guy?
I don't know. Because he has some money in his head. But he shot the wrong guy. He shot the wrong dude.
He kills these two kids because these two kids knew about that?
Because he told his mama.
The problem is for investigators, though, initially it is not necessarily possible to connect Christopher Jones's death to this other crime scene that is found. Christopher Jones's case seems to be almost a one-off event, not for the second case.
But here's the deal, man. He got you wrapped up in something. Not once, but twice. Was Corey with you on the 41st one too? And those two guys?
All right. What's the tissue?
And all of a sudden, instead of 2 homicides, we're dealing with 3 homicides. And one is a direct result of the other.
I wasn't there.
Tell me what you know.
What I know, what I heard, is he was stabbed. That's what I know.
Come on, man. Dude, just tell me the truth, man.
Hey, real quick, we're going to jump right back into this case. I know it has so many different layers, but look, we were able to put all of this together because of the incredible support that we get from our partner, Upside. This is an amazing app, by the way. So Upside gets you cash back, extra cash back on everyday purchases like gas, groceries, takeout. So here's what you do. You download Upside for free. You claim an offer at one of their 100,000 plus locations. You pay like normal with your card. You verify the purchase, and just like that, money back. So say I need to get gas or I want takeout one night, I'll search for Upside offers first. And after I spend, money appears in my app that I can transfer right into my bank account. And Upside's frequent users, they earn an average of $254 back a year. So to start getting your cash back, click the link in the description or scan the QR code, but make sure to use our promo code PRIMECRIME because you'll get an extra 25 cents bonus on every gallon on your first tank of gas. Detectives can't just take one person at their word, right? That's why you see teams working simultaneously. Some are collecting evidence, others are looking for witnesses.
A female called in and said that when she saw the pictures of the boys on the TV, she said, "I think my boyfriend knows something about this. He brought over his boots and he said, 'You got to hide these boots, they got blood on them.'" That boyfriend was Ja'Cory Taylor. We go over there, we collect the boots, and lo and behold, we find Ja'Cory Taylor.
I wasn't there. All I know is just they was stabbed and they was burned. That's all I know.
Dude, just tell me the truth, man. I already know. I want to see if you tell me the truth.
And me being involved with the truth either.
Ja'Cory and Anwan, they do everything together because they're all kind of sort of in the same situation. They're in that situation without a strong role model in their life, and they're kind of sort of gravitating towards Bryce Rhodes. And they're becoming enamored with his lifestyle and his stories. And it's kind of sort of bringing these boys deeper into his web.
If he was mad at him, I don't know why he was mad at him.
You're not confessing to anything here, man. You're telling me the truth about what you know to be true, and you're still evading the truth.
The shooting on 41st with him, like you said, I guess he felt like they was gonna tell, whatever. That's what I'm hearing. So I guess their mom found out.
Rambo couldn't handle that.
You just lost it after that. I guess he felt like they was snitching. Because they was in the car. I'm not concerned with why. He did. He told him he was gonna kill him.
Bryce gets them all loaded up. Anwan had stolen a truck earlier that day. So in the one car was Larry, Maurice, and Bryce Rhodes. And Anwan was in the truck, the stolen truck behind them. And they're driving all over the West End looking for this guy that only Bryce knows what he looks like. And then we come into Christopher Jones walking across the street. And Bryce Road goes, there he is, and shots ring out.
To be honest with you, like, man to man.
Yeah, man to man, man.
To be honest with you, he just wanted to like show his toughness and show how tough he was. He wanted to show us. Wanted to see how tough we was. You hang around a bunch of young people, you want them to do your dirt so they can get caught up with you.
Turns out all of them were there when Christopher Jones was shot and killed in a possible case of mistaken identity.
Anwan being just, all I can think of is like, holy cow, that just happened. Doesn't think about it, keeps on driving and runs over Christopher Jones with the truck. At the scene of the Christopher Jones, you knew that there was some other turmoil that occurred, not just the gunshots, because of the injuries that he had sustained. Corey said that Bryce thought the boys, Larry and Maurice, were snitching on him. In his words, there's only one way to take care of snitches. We got Bryce Rhodes at a gas station, and it was a tactical takedown where we pulled up behind him and we took Bryce Rhodes into custody and transported him down to the homicide office. While this is going on, I was putting together a search warrant for the condominium that Anwan told us the murder actually took place. Detective Holland was one of the investigators that was at the condo. And I was on the phone with him, and I can remember this to this day. As he's walking up, he says, "Oh my God, Aaron, all I smell is bleach. It is so thick, it's making my eyes water." And your initial thought as an investigator, whenever you smell chemicals, you're like, oh, there goes all of my evidence. Once we made entry into the location, the rug was saturated.
Remember, he went to some certain lengths in order to mask his involvement. I think probably one of the biggest things is the fact that he burned these bodies, and heat impacts DNA deposition. It degrades it, or it eradicates it to a great degree, so you're not necessarily going to find anything on the bodies. So your fallback position at that point in time is, what other evidence do you have?
The carpet was like a cream color and the furniture was white. So you had to know how much. One boy was stabbed 18 times, 19 times. The other boy was stabbed 22, 23, 4 times. There's blood. You've just got to look. We found traces of blood on a vase on the fake flowers. And then we decided, let's step back and let's use the blue star on this room. Detective Holland, to quote him, he said it glowed like a full moon in the sky. While this is going on, I, in turn, am about to interrogate Bryce Rhodes.
Well, here's the thing, man. We are looking for 2 missing kids.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't know. We heard that you might know where they might be, or you were seen with them, or talked to them, any way, shape, or form. Anything you could help us to find them, we would appreciate it.
Who are they?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, man.
You all right?
Maurice.
And who else?
And Larry.
Ah, I know them. Yeah.
Have you seen them lately? Do you know?
No, I haven't seen them about a week.
You can see that on his part, there's a certain level of resistance. One of the things that investigators look for, you begin to think about people closing down, shutting down, or redirecting.
When was the last time that you remember seeing him, and where was it?
Oh, probably at Circle K or riding down Taylor. Like, I see him like through the neighborhood, and I might see him out playing basketball and stuff like that.
What day then?
Probably like, what's today?
Today is Tuesday.
I don't know, probably around last Tuesday, to be honest. Tuesday or Wednesday.
Police bring Bryce Rhodes in, and they don't get much from him. This is not a long interview. He acknowledges that he knows the boys.
You close with these kids at all?
They're cool. We play basketball. I'm cool with a lot of people.
Well, let me ask you this: how tight were you with? Did you hang out with them on a regular basis?
They was cool. Yeah, we hung out different times. Different times.
All right. Did
went to the park, play basketball. Might go out to eat or something. They was cool.
Do you know what school they went to or anything like that?
No.
You know their family?
Yeah, I know their uncle and I know their mother. I used to date their mother probably like last summer. Used to talk to her and stuff.
Has anybody said anything about them, anything like that, around the neighborhood?
Actually, TJ, he texted my phone today. Their uncle.
Yeah.
Talking about, he's like, something about they're dead or something like that. And I'm like, I text him like, are you joking? You know what I'm saying? And he never texts me back.
Police, it is not their job when you're in an interview room to give the individual information, because the more information you give them, that's something that they can play around with. And somebody that's really cued in on how to deal with the police and how to take questions, they'll know when to keep their mouth shut. Some people are really good at deception.
Is there anything we haven't asked that you think might be relevant?
Might help us.
Y'all don't want to answer the questions.
Well, man, we're just trying to find the kids.
I mean, y'all got the questions, I'll answer, whatever y'all want to know. I mean, I wish I could help, knew what it was, I don't.
Bryce Rhodes' co-defendants are brought in for a proffer. This is a high-stakes meeting. You have attorneys from both sides, and they're expected to tell the full truth in exchange for consideration on their charges. So step by step, Anwan and Jacory lay out what happened the nights that Christopher Jones, Maurice Gordon, and Larry Ordway were killed. This is locking in a story that investigators can test against the evidence.
Anwan and Jacory were already at the house with Bryce Rhodes, and there was another individual, Tareen Coleman. Bryce said, we need to get these boys over here. We need to get them over here. We need to teach them a lesson. So Bryce decided to go over and pick them up, and they go to the apartment. What Anwan said was true. They were there having a good time. Maurice and Jacory got into a physical altercation. Well, while this fight was going on, Bryce Rhodes stepped in, and that's where it went downhill. Bryce decided it was time. He separated the two brothers, Larry and Maurice. He tied them up, gagged them, and put hoods over their heads. Put one boy in the bathroom. Bryce stabbed him, and then he pushed the first brother over to the side and brought the other brother out. And it basically repeated.
Police know that Anwan and Jacory are not the masterminds of this, that there is someone else behind this, that it's most likely Bryce Rhodes. So during this truthful testimony, it all comes out that not only did Bryce Rhodes stab their friends, but they stabbed their friends as well at the direction of Bryce Rhodes.
Out of all causes of death, sharp force injuries might very well be the most intimate, because it's a matter of taking an edged weapon and driving it into somebody over and over and over and over again. When I first heard about this case, torture came to mind for me.
Bryce, Tyreen, and Jacory and Anwan carried out the boys in laundry baskets to Bryce's car, and Bryce Rhodes told Anwan or Jacory to clean up the house. One of the things he said that will stick in my head to this day is that when they're loading up the two boys into the baskets, he looks at everybody, Anwan does, and says, well, I'm gonna take his shoes, he doesn't need those anymore. He says that they took the clothes to a dumpster, threw all the stuff, the laundry baskets, everything into a dumpster, and set it on fire. And Detective Brian Peters and Detective Metzler have this amazing idea. Let's pull all of the dumpster fires in the city, and they find it. And not only did they find it, they donned Tyvek suits and jumped in it. Now we have evidence with bloodstains, clothing, objects that we can actually put forensic evidence to. When you find a pillow or a towel in a dumpster that matches the pillows and the towels in the condo. In our work, that's called a clue. Not just that, two witnesses saw Bryce Rhodes, his car, and another individual inside that car at the dumpster, starting it on fire and leaving. Everything is starting to move pretty quick.
Bryce Rhodes, Anwan Carter, Ja'Cory Taylor, and a fourth young man, Tieran Coleman, are all charged for their roles in the murders of Christopher Jones, Maurice Gordon, and Larry Ordway.
Those proffers solidified everything, our worst nightmares, that these boys were just brutally murdered, all because they told their mom that they witnessed a murder, and all because the mom, who was still communicating with Bryce Rhodes, said, "I know what you did."
But the story doesn't end there. No, Bryce Rhodes definitely makes sure to keep things interesting ahead of his trial.
Moving forward came all of the antics. You couldn't find an attorney to take this case.
Oh, just spit in his face.
So this is already a highly unusual case where you have two teenagers killed, where you have an innocent bystander murdered. And then it gets even crazier when Bryce Rhodes shows up in court.
You're excused if you'd like to go.
Thanks. Nice cheap shot. You a coward. Nice cheap shot. You a coward. No.
He is fighting with his own attorney. I think they had to be separated. He spit at his attorney. The second time he came into court, he was probably more suited up than Hannibal Lecter. He was at a spit mask. He was all bound up, and he still, through the binding, he still told a judge, "Look, I can find out where you live."
So you're saying you're going to find out where I live at?
He goes in front of another judge. He says whatever he wants to say. He curses. At one point, Bryce told the judge that he was racist and a member of the KKK. I've been covering trials for 25 years where I've never seen a defendant that basically ran the courtroom. And this goes on for years.
During this time, Bryce Rhodes attends hearing after hearing, and there is problem after problem. And it is ultimately determined that he is ineligible for the death penalty due to mental illness.
He had an opportunity, particularly with these two young men. Imagine being a male role model in their life. And he screwed that up. He screwed it up to the point of a terminal event.
Come to find out, he was a suspect in several others. 3 other murders that I know of. And we didn't know that until after we had already locked him up.
Generally in Louisville, a murder case will take anywhere from a year to 2, maybe 3. Sometimes you'll get a case that'll take 4 years. This case started in 2016, but did not end until 2023.
Now, this trial eventually gets underway in December of 2023.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, callous and casual was the first murder. The 2 that followed were calculating and cruel. One night with Bryce Rhodes, they came upon an idea. And the idea was basically there was a hit out on somebody. The man on the pavement there is Christopher Jones. He was just in the wrong place in the wrong time. Bryce Rhodes became aware by overhearing a phone conversation with Ja'Cory talking to Maurice. But they were talking about the murder that happened, but their family knew about it. Had the boys over there, Bryce Rhodes said it was time to discipline Maurice. And then Bryce Rhodes took a knife and began stabbing him over and over and over again. And then they brought Larry into the room. And then they repeated the process.
Anwan Carter and Ja'Cory Taylor plead guilty to lesser charges in exchange for truthful testimony against Bryce Rhodes at trial. During trial, Anwan Carter gives everything out. He doesn't hold anything back. He talks about the fact and admits that he stabbed his friend.
They put both of them in the bathroom and we took a vote.
What's this vote on?
They said die or not. I'm the one that said no. They'll say yeah.
What's running through your mind?
Just gotta make sure I get out. Try to save somebody else. Make sure I'm safe.
And what would have stopped you from getting out?
Probably if I ain't go along with it.
What would have happened?
Probably been with him. Probably
Same situation, same fate.
Jacory and Anwan's stories, although vary a little bit, are pretty much identical. So we got a kind of a good picture of what happened that night and how just absolutely horrible it must have been for that boy that was in the bathroom, hearing his brother getting stabbed and getting just beat and killed, knowing that you're next.
Mr. Taylor, how are you connected to this case?
You need to answer the question.
You got nothing to say.
Okay, Mr. Taylor, I want to turn to the May 4th.
I ain't got nothing to say. I respect what y'all doing here, but I ain't got nothing to say about the incident.
Now, at first, Jacory Taylor refuses to speak, and it is clear that he is holding back emotions.
Mr. Taylor, were you on 41st Street the night that Christopher Jones was shot?
I ain't got nothing to say.
He eventually opens up about the night Christopher Jones is killed. This is the shooting that ultimately leads to the deaths of Maurice and Larry, Taylor's friends.
Y'all driving down 41st Street, you're in the back seat, Anwan following. What happens?
Rode around. Maurice rode around. Stopped the car. And he seen somebody in the middle of the street. And Bryce told him to get out the street. Shot him.
Who shot him?
Bryce. He ain't never seen nobody like get shot, you know what I mean? So I'm not gonna lie, we was all scared, you know what I mean? Yeah, we was young, you know what I'm saying? We just went along with it.
Any of you discussed this prior to May 21st?
Yeah, me and Maurice did. And Larry. He told me he wasn't messing with Bryce anymore because of the situation. He feared they would tell him, so he was saying we can't mess with them no more. We gotta get him back for telling him. I remember him trying to break free and he pinned him down and began stabbing him. And then after he was down, he had me the knife and made me stab him as well.
The state presents all the evidence that was collected throughout this investigation, ultimately calling nearly 20 witnesses to the stand. As for Bryce Rhodes' defense, on the other hand, they focus on cross-examination to try to discredit the state's witnesses rather than calling any witnesses of their own.
I stabbed him. I stabbed Maurice in his side. I drove on him. I ran him over. Ladies and gentlemen, these are quotes from someone involved in this case, but these are not quotes from Bryce Rhodes. Anwan Carter talking about killing his best friend, Maurice Gordon, and running over a helpless Christopher Jones. Anwan Carter is the prosecution's main witness in this trial. I think you'll find that there aren't any eyewitnesses who were not themselves involved in these crimes. The Louisville Metro Police Department found tire tracks and footprints at the scene where Larry and Maurice's bodies were found. The tire tracks could not be linked to Bryce's vehicle. The footprints did not match Bryce's shoes. Bryce's fingerprints were not on any evidence. Anwan Carter gave a name, the police took it and ran with it. Up to that point, all they had was kids killing other kids. They wanted an adult to stick it to. And here we are. Did you tell Detective Tonelli that you hadn't heard anything or didn't know anything about Maurice and Larry's death? At first?
Yeah.
And then later, you changed your mind. Is that correct? Did you tell the detective at that point that you weren't close to Rambo?
Yeah.
Do you remember telling Officer Tonelli that you were not involved in the crime?
Yeah.
Eventually, you changed your story again for a third time, correct?
Bryce Rhodes' defense was that he was being set up by police and that these 3 teenagers, they were all part of the murders. They had nothing to lose by just saying, well, Bryce Rhodes did it. The defense for Bryce Rhodes said, this are not the most credible people. They've admitted to you they were also involved in the cleanup and getting rid of the bodies.
You were definitely involved in these deaths, right?
I was present. Yes, sir.
You don't really want to answer that question, right? Right?
If I was there, just as guilty, right?
A little bit more than there, right?
I was there.
You told this jury that Maurice actually started something with you.
Yes, sir.
You're saying Maurice pulled the knife on you.
Yes, sir. He picked up a knife that Bryce had, that Bryce carried with him to attack me with it, to charge at me with it.
The defense is basically saying the jury cannot listen to these witnesses because they are just as guilty and may have done the whole thing themselves.
Following days of testimony and surprisingly no outbursts from Bryce Rhodes during the course of this trial, it takes the jury less than 5 hours to come back with their verdict.
Has the jury been able to reach a verdict in this case? Murder as to Christopher Jones. We, the jury, found the defendant guilty of murder. Murder as to Maurice Gordon. We, the jury, found the defendant guilty of murder. Murder as to Larry Ordway. We, the jury, found the defendant guilty of murder.
So 3 co-defendants had cut deals with police, various amounts of prison time, while Bryce Rhodes, the jury eventually found him guilty of 3 counts of murder. Again, the death penalty was off the table, so they gave him the max they could.
3 months after the trial, during the penalty phase to sentence Bryce Rhodes, the families of Christopher, Maurice, and Larry have their chance to speak before the court.
This has been painful for me and my family. What he did is just unthinkable. On the behalf of my son and my family, we forgive, but we forgive for ourselves. We don't forgive for him.
Been waiting 7 years, 7 long years for this day, on December the 18th, when they found Bryce Rhodes guilty. Little Larry played football. Little Reese wanted music. And he took that from them. You know, I sat in this courtroom and listened to everything. That one part that he did to my grandkids, it just took me right there. How you just mutilated them like an animal. God say vengeance is man's, who says the Lord. So you can find the Lord in anywhere. Anywhere. And I hope you do find Jesus.
This has been by far one of the most tragic cases I've ever been involved in. Everything about this case is horrific. And so the court will follow the recommendation of the jury in line with the law and impose a sentence of life without parole.
I've dealt with all kinds of criminals from the gamut in my career. And I say this without any reservation. Evil exists. And I've seen evil. It's scary and it's disheartening as a human being.
I'm glad he's off the streets. I hate that he ruined so many lives, but at the end of the day, there's nothing. There's not enough words, there's not enough tears, there's not enough, thoughts and prayers that you could send anybody's way that are going to replace these 3 precious souls that have all been taken away.